So, but anyway.
We do have a big show coming up this weekend on for UFC. Now, how big? I don't know. I don't think it's going to do 1 million buys, but it's definitely one of the bigger shows that you're going to have that don't have Conor McGregor on it. We've got 2 title fights, and then we've got arguably one of the biggest non-title fights that UFC could make right now. That doesn't involve Jorge Masvidal. So we got Usman and Covington for the welterweight championship rematch in the actually both title fights are rematches. Usman and Covington in the main event, and Rose Namajunas and Zhang Weili for the strawweight title in the co-main. And then of course the other big fight is Justin Gaethje and Michael Chandler. Hardcore fans dream. Our boy John Moxley was really looking forward to this fight. I think he's got other things on his mind right now. I'm not. I think he's watching it, but I don't know. I don't know that he's gonna watch it. I think they're gonna have to pull over on their move from Vegas to Vegas to Cincinnati to watch it. Renee's a UFC fan too, so they might pull over at a dive at somewhere, some dive place where they could have the dogs and the baby, and watch it somewhere. I just put it up on the phone on the iPad as
on
you're
the
driving.
iPad, especially if you have a car with a Wi-Fi connection, that's perfect.
Yeah, but that's obviously 3 big, huge fights. Arguably, Usman's the biggest star. Covington's the biggest, piece of work. Justin Gaethje's a huge star. Chandler's a huge star. Like, this is a big show.
Do you know the interesting trivia little deal on the 3 big fights?
Probably not.
Probably not. The Usman, Namajunas, and Gaethje all trained and all will be cornered by Trevor Whitman. I think he's the first coach. I think he's the first coach to ever have fighters that he corners in the top 3 fights on a pay-per-view card. I think he's the first. I might be wrong on that.
So he's not going to be doing ringside commentary, as he.
Well, I mean, he hasn't done it. He hasn't done it for a while because he's been getting these
Dean Thomas.
These 3 ready. But he'll probably be back after this card for a little bit.
Yeah, Dean Thomas has been doing that for the last little while. Yeah. I mean, this is, there's one of these cards every year where, it's like just stacked for the hardcores. And then, everyone wonders like, how's it going to do on buys? And like, this is honestly, I will say the one time I don't even care. I'm just happy to see it. I'm not happy to have to pay for 2 pay-per-views in a row and then, 3rd in a row the following week because I'm a wrestling fan. But I am more than happy to shell out my money for this fight, for this show. I like the way you're doing your new UFC breakdowns on Fight Game Media. So why don't you just give us the breakdown? And you haven't written it yet, but just in your mind of these top 3 fights. Okay,
as far as pay-per-view buy, I think it'll do better than the first Usman Covington show because Usman's a far bigger star after those two fights against Masvidal, and this is the first fight since the Masvidal knockout, which I think just took him into a whole nother stratosphere as far as kind of a superstar level. And Rose has a very big following, and then Gaethje hasn't fought since the beef fight in a year, and is coming off of 2 big pay-per-views last year. So I think when you break that down as far as like pay-per-view buys, I think we're looking at a good one. As far as the main event, Usman and Covington, I don't see it going any differently than the first fight. I mean, and since the first fight happened 23 months ago. Since that happened, Usman has beaten Masvidal twice, including knocking him out cold this last time, and then knocked out Gilbert Burns, who is a very, very, very good fighter. And in that time, Colby Covington has fought 1 time, and he beat up a washed up Tyron Woodley, who everybody was beating, including Jake Paul, a boxer, so I mean, Covington doesn't deserve this title fight. I mean, he played his cards right. Ran his mouth, sat on the sidelines, turned down the fights to where it was kind of no other choice. But I don't see it going any differently than their first fight. The first fight was fantastic, but I think Usman's gotten so much better, and I don't know that Covington has gotten any better just because of inactivity and beating up, Tyron Woodley doesn't mean anything anymore like it did. So I am thoroughly expecting Usman to be and still come Saturday night. What about you?
I do expect it to go differently than the first one, and I expect it to be even more dominant, and I expect Usman to probably finish him in the second or third round. I don't think this can be close.
Yeah. Okay. And as far as Namajunas and Weili, I mean, I'm kind of going back and forth, but I don't know that it ends any differently than the first fight did. I think Rose is just better on the feet and is more dynamic striker. And I mean, Weili switched to training camps, moved to America, training, with the Fight Ready team, which has Henry Cejudo, Davis and Figueiredo, a whole bunch of people. So that might make a difference. But I kind of see. I don't know if it'll be a head kick, but I do think Rose is just still better all around, and I think Rose will be and still at the end of the night as well.
I'd agree with that. And right now, actually, Rose is a very slight underdog, which, I mean, it's basically a toss-up, but that surprises me.
Yeah. So, and then when it comes to Gaethje and Chandler, I mean, we kind of know what we're going to get here. It's going to be just two guys throwing heat at each other. I mean, we know that Gaethje can take punches, and we know that Michael Chandler necessarily can't. So it might be just the first guy who lands the big shot. Big shot wins. I think Gaethje's going to win this fight. But I mean, as far as like how it's going to go, I just say they're going to throw caution in the wind, go balls to the wall, and they might end up just having an absolutely incredible war that ends up being the fight of the year, or we could see a knockout happen in about the first 90 seconds. And for Michael Chandler's sake, I hope that he doesn't have a repeat of the last time he was in Madison Square Garden, where he had the whole drop foot syndrome when he was in that Bellator fight
against Brent Primus. I just looked up the odds. Under 1.5 rounds is basically even money. Go under on that. And that's my best bet. I mean, I'll have an official best bet, but put some big money down on that one, because I don't see this fight going 7.5 minutes. It's going to be wild, and it's going to be great. It's just going to be outstanding, and then we'll follow it up with 2 title fights. Just a great card.
Yeah, I mean, the top 3 fights are worth your money. Just those. If those are the only 3 fights on the main card, you're still going to pay for this show. It's just an outstanding top 3.
And then the other 2 main card fights are basically these fights would both headline Fight Night card, and we're getting them on the the openers, basically. Shane Burgos and Billy Quarantillo.
Maybe not this one, but I don't know that this one would headline a Fight Night card.
Burgos would headline, and Frankie Edgar and Marlon Chito Vera.
Yeah, that would headline.
That one actually, that should be headlining a Fight Night card, to be honest with you. But whatever, they're putting it on this card. I mean, just a couple great fights. Featherweight fight, Burgos and Quarantillo. And I guess, that's an interesting one, because, like I said, Burgos is probably a kind of guy, that you can put into a Fight Night card and headline with. And Quarantillo is a guy that not a lot of people know, but, he's got a good record, 16-3. And Frankie Edgar, obviously former champion. And Chito is just a great undercard fighter. Quarantillo's won, 9 of his last 10 fights, 4 or 5 in the UFC. He's only lost to Gavin Tucker. So, just a really, really great main card. Edgar Vera is, it's a crossroads fight. Our buddy Josh Nation likes these kind of fights. Yeah. And, be the biggest win for Vera if he gets it. And Edgar's trying to stay relevant.
Yeah, Shane Burgos is an all-action, exciting fighter. So having him on a main card, especially when you lost the Luke Rockhold Sean Strickland fight, which was supposed to be in that slot, bumping Burgos up to the main card, you're gonna get an exciting fight out of him. So yeah, really solid, main card. And yeah, Edgar and Vera. I mean, we're gonna see if Frankie Edgar has anything left in the tank, and this is gonna be the fight because I mean, I don't know that he has anything for the top 8 guys, but if he has anything left, he should beat a guy like Cheeto Vera. And that's not a knock on Cheeto because he's very good, but I mean, Frankie is, Hall of Fame, all-timer great. So we'll see how much he has left here.
I will say that you can. A lot of times we'll go over these prelims and we will quickly, but if you got stuff to do on Saturday and you don't really, you don't want to take time to watch prelims, I don't think you really need to see these prelims. I'm just looking at the names. I mean, Ally Kinta, Bobby Green's a good fight.
Okay. I'll get into it. I do.
Edmund.
I do think you need to see the Alex Pereira. I talked about him when he signed, he holds a win over Israel Adesanya in kickboxing. Right. Yeah, 3-1.
Shit, I forgot about him.
Yeah, he's in the featured
I just looked
prelim.
At the other guy. Yeah. I saw 3-1 record, and then I saw the other guy is Andreas Michailidis, and I'm like, what? But now I remember. Now all of a sudden this card's more interesting. Yeah, Alex Pereira. Okay.
Yeah, Alex.
Yeah, look up Alex. Okay.
Yeah, Alex Pereira in the featured prelim against Andreas Michailidis. Pereira, exciting kickboxer, training partner of Glover Teixeira. I mean, he's only 3-1 in MMA, but he's got like some ridiculous, like he was a 2-division glory champion. He just lost the glory light heavyweight championship. He's focusing on MMA, but he's 33-7 in kickboxing with 21 knockouts. It was the only one, as far as I remember. I think he was either the only one to ever beat Israel Adesanya in kickboxing, or he might have been the only one to ever knock out Israel Adesanya kickboxing. Yeah, he has.
He beat him twice.
The first one was a decision, and then the second one was a knockout. So I think that's what that was. Let me look at real quick.
Yeah,
Adesanya. Yeah, Adesanya lost 5 times in kickboxing. He's 75-5, ridiculous, but only 1 knockout. So yeah, Pereira's only got to knock out Israel Adesanya in any kind of combat sport ever. So yeah, I mean, I talked about it when he was signed. If he's a guy that they can get a bunch of fights and maybe he runs his record to like 5-0, 6-0, and finishes everybody. They're gonna want to look at Book and Pereira and Adesanya. But anyway, that's the featured prelim. Then you got
he is coming off a loss in his last kickboxing fight, but
yeah. But he's won his last 3 MMA fights. His last MMA fight was a year ago, though. So,
Yep. Okay. And then, you know what? Now that you mentioned that, these prelims aren't quite as bad as I thought. Yeah. But go through the rest of them.
Yeah. Then we got a lightweight fight, Ally Quinta against Bobby Green. First fight for Al in over 2 years. And then Bobby Green always has exciting fights, and so does Al. So that will probably be a really high quality fight. Middleweight fight, Edmund Shabazian against Nasruddin Imavov. We talked a lot about Edmund, when he lost to Jack Hermanson, about how, he needs to fight. He's not ready for these top level guys. Imavov is a guy, that he should be. Edmund's been training his wrestling at AKA, did this whole camp at AKA. So we'll see how much he's improved his wrestling. Imavov is a wrestler, so I mean, it's a good test for that. Middleweight fight, Phil Halls against Chris Curtis. This fight looked like it was going to happen a couple of weeks ago. Chris Curtis was going to step in on literally like hours notice, to replace Deron Wynn. Phil Halls didn't want to fight him on 24 hours notice, but doesn't have any problem fighting him on 2 or 3 weeks notice so he could get familiar with him. So we have that on here. Curtis making his UFC debut after he'd already retired once or twice. But yeah. And then our early prelim slate, we got 5 fights. Ian Gary, 7-0 from Cage Warriors, making his UFC debut. Very exciting fighter. He's fighting Jordan Williams. Here's what might be Paul's favorite fight on the card. Heavyweight fight between John Vellante and Huggy Bear, Chris Barnett. We have a light heavyweight fight, which features a late change that happened today. John Allen is now fighting Dustin Jacoby, who's replacing Alexa Kamer on 5 days' notice. So, and then featherweight fight, Melsik Bagdasaryan, who we talked a lot about, who has tons of potential to be a contender in the future, fighting debuting Bruno Souza, who's making his UFC debut on like a week's notice. Then opening fight is a flyweight fight, CJ Vergara, who was impressive on Dana White's Contender Series this year, fighting O'Day Osborne.
Bruno, for some reason, I thought Bruno Souza. I'd like just seen him fight, but I guess not. I just looked up his record. No,
I think he fought in August, and he had a fight coming up soon.
But I didn't see. No, I thought maybe he was on the Contenders or something, but it must have been a different Souza. Yeah. There's a lot of Souzas in MMA.
A lot of Brunos and a lot of Souzas. Yeah. So.
Yeah. The early prelims. Okay, you guys can definitely skip the early prelims if you're busy. So tune in for that main prelim card with Coach Edmond, Phil Haas, I Kenton, Bobby Green, and that Alex Pereira dude. You want to see those fights. So that'll be 8:00 Eastern, 7:00 Central. This is the only time zone that matters, and 5:00 on the West Coast. That's the early prelims, and of course the main cards on pay-per-view on ESPN Plus. So yeah.